Welcome to the Double Blonde Brokers podcast. With this podcast, our hope is that clients and friends alike can learn something. With each episode, we make light of the complexity of health insurance by offering tips, tricks, vocab lessons, and even sharing stories of our experiences as brokers. New episodes launch every Wednesday.
Well, welcome to episode 4 of the Double Blonde Brokers. So today we have a really exciting topic. It's called the Great Debate.
The moment everyone's been waiting for.
Everyone's been waiting for this one.
What the heck do I actually choose?
What are you going to choose, a supplement or a Medicare Advantage? So we're going to try to help with that a little bit because it is a big question. Oh, and I'm so sorry. I'm Suzanne O'Connor.
And I'm Emily Keaton. Welcome. So yes, Suzanne, original Medicare we talked about back in episode 2, and kind of talked about what the out-of-pocket exposure looks like for both of those, and the reason you kind of need either a supplement or an Advantage plan. So just kind of keep that in the back of your head as we talk about this today. But kind of the most important thing to know today about original Medicare is that you must have both Parts A and Part B, both parts of original Medicare, in order to get this supplement or an Advantage plan to supplement, that original Medicare piece. And no matter which route you decide to go, you're still going to have to pay that Part B premium. That $174.70 or higher we talked about if you have higher income. So something to keep in mind when we're talking about both routes today.
Yes, exactly. So we're going to start off and just talk a little bit about when you have a supplement, and we're going to refer today to supplement the G supplement. So there's all sorts of alphabet soup type things when it comes to the supplement, the different letters. But by far the most popular supplement plan is Plan G. So that's the one we're basically going to be using as our reference point for a supplement. So there are other options, but today we're going to talk about supplement G versus a Medicare Advantage. So the first thing is when you have a supplement plan, like we explained all that in episode 2 about what the deductibles were for different parts and the co-insurance and co-pays, etc. But what this is going to be is kind of tell you how to help, what goes with it. So this supplement G goes with that. And the difference in it is it's going to have 2 cards. You're always going to use 2 cards whenever you go to the doctor. So we kind of call it the 2-card system. And you're going to have your red, white, and blue Medicare card, and then you'll have your supplement card. And so when you go to the doctor, you never pay anything. That's important. Don't pay. No matter what they say, don't pay. You just say, whatever my insurance comes back, that's when I'll give you a payment. Because all that is going to be involved with that is a deductible. But we'll go into that in another section. Versus
so the Advantage plan is different. So, and like Suzanne said, you have on the supplement route, you do have 2 cards because you're literally just supplementing that original Medicare with another card. When you do the Advantage plan route, you're actually replacing all of original Medicare with a 1-card system. So now you're still using that Advantage plan, but replacing the original Part A and B. Now, the kicker is you still have to pay for Part B. So just because you replace it doesn't mean it disappears. It's still sort of there, but you're now using a private insurance company to give you both your A and B benefits and then all those other little gaps in there. And in this case, you may pay a copay when you go to the doctor. You may actually pay something up front. They may ask for that. And that's okay, but it should kind of follow the fee schedule that you have on that plan.
Right. So on the supplement plan with the Plan G, the most that you can expect to pay out of pocket, besides your monthly premium, the premium amount for the supplement, is a yearly deductible of $240. That's it. So what your insurance is going to cost you for the year is $240 plus the cost of your premiums times 12. And one other thing we didn't add in there, it's actually literally a 3-card system because you will have a Part D plan that you have to use for your drugs. But we'll even talk about that in another little part. So that's what you can expect to pay over the course of the year with a supplement. So you're paying a fixed amount with premiums. You don't really have to pay for any sort of preventative or wellness, so that doesn't come out of it. But any other sickness or injury would come out of that 240. So how does that work with Advantage?
So Advantage is again kind of the opposite. So now there's a lot of Advantage plans out there that have no premium at all or very, very low premiums. And so you're not really paying anything month to month, but you're going to pay more when you actually use the plan. So rather than having just a one-time set deductible for the year, you have co-pays for pretty much every single thing that you do. Again, your preventative care, wellness stuff is all going to be covered 100%. But when you go to the doctor, you'll have a copay for that. If you were in the hospital, you'll have a copay per day for that as well too. So kind of like the original Medicare A that we talked about, where you have copays for things, but the real value in the Advantage plan is now you have a max out of pocket. So they eventually cut you off. And most of them are those numbers are pretty low uh, for what your max could be for the year. So it's really, really a huge benefit. Although you still have these copays, you're paying nothing really up front. Pay a little as you go when you use it, and then you have a stopping point. Stop the bleeding.
Stop the bleeding, yes. And with a supplement, your maximum, like I just said, was going to be your premiums and your deductible, because there is, that there's no extra parts that are included for that. Now, like I just was talking about with the RX coverage, the Part D plan, it's just to note that even though there are different plans, like Part D is a standalone plan that you have to purchase in addition to your supplement. But it all, with all the different carriers, they have different formularies, and we talked about that all last week. And so it's important to get to the right Part D plan. And that it does still follow the same deductible and all those different stages and phases and donut holes, like whatever we talked about last week, even with an Advantage plan. So, however, how is it different on Advantage?
On Advantage, it's different because typically your drug plan is going to be included with your Medicare plan. Now, that max out of pocket that I talked about, just for giving an example, let's say it's 3,000 for the year. Your drugs do not fall under that 3,000. It is still that separate uh drug system like we talked about last time and like Suzanne said. So those are still two separate parts. You just essentially don't have to pay anything extra for the drug plan with an Advantage.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about the networks. So this is probably one of the key parts to a supplement, is the fact that it is going to be accepted, so widely accepted. We really don't even look up doctors in network if they're going to get with original Medicare, because if they take Medicare, they're accepted, right? And there's no referrals when it comes to a supplement. There's nothing where you have to go to your primary first, get your referral, none of that. So it's widely accepted. You can use it all over the country. Anytime anybody takes Medicare, any physician, any hospital, you are covered.
Advantage, again, very different. So we do need to pay attention to doctor networks. So each doctor gets to choose which Advantage plans they want to take, just like in the under 65 market
Mhm.
where they get to determine we want to take this insurance company and not this one. So really important to look up those doctors. You don't want to be on a plan where you can't see your favorite doctor. Just not a good situation. And then even another part to take into consideration with Advantage is there's what's called an HMO plan and then a PPO plan.
Mm.
HMO, a lot of times you need a referral to see any type of a specialist from your PCP, and you cannot go out of network. So if you need some sort of services at a doctor that's not in your network, then you may not be able to do that or you'll pay out of pocket.
Mhm.
And then on the PPO plan, you can go out of network. You have out of network benefits, and typically you do not need a referral to see any specialist there.
You know, a lot of times I feel like with that whole network, you tell me you think the same thing. If you're in an area like we're in the St. Louis metropolitan area, because there's we have a lot of doctors in our area. So it's very easy to find doctors in the network. versus if you are more rural and don't have as big of a system of network of doctors around, whereas that other plan, the supplement, where anybody that takes Medicare is maybe going to be a better fit for that reason as well, because they can not be
Yeah.
as big in those out of areas.
Yeah, agreed 100%. And you think you take the St. Louis area, for example, say you live in like Cape Girardeau, which isn't that far away. It's 2 hours away, but you need some sort of a specialist for an illness that you um get. The closest place to receive that treatment might be all the way to St. Louis. So, your
Mhm.
network that works in Cape Girardeau may not work the same in St. Louis. And so it's definitely very dependent on where you live, if you travel, all of those different things.
Yeah, because it's really set up by county,
Mhm.
where the different plans and where there are. All right, so let's talk about the another part about this, which is a guaranteed issue. So obviously the supplement covers very well. And when a person first turns 65, they have that certain initial enrollment period where they have a guaranteed issue. So it doesn't matter what sort of health issues you have, you are going to be accepted on this plan. But you only have that time to do that without any underwriting. That's just when you first have to make that decision, or you first come off of your employer benefits, just newly to Medicare. That's when you have that guaranteed issue period. Now it's a little bit different for Medicare Advantage. Now, if you can get a supplement other times of the year, however, you just have to go through underwriting. You just have to you
Right.
have to answer the questions. You can't have been in the hospital in the last year and a half. You can't have cancer. Just any major health thing that comes along,
Yeah.
you're not getting it. So you do have to kind of keep that in mind, because a lot of times when
Yeah.
we're younger and healthier, we think, I don't really need it. But then a little bit older you get, you think, oh, maybe I did. So
Yep.
how is that different now? What are the periods for Medicare Advantage?
Advantage kinda has that same, initial enrollment period. So right when you turn 65, or if you come off of a, group employer insurance plan, you have that initial stage where you can enroll in whatever plan you want. And then beyond that, if, let's say you decided to go with a supplement plan first, or maybe when you first turned 65, you didn't sign up for anything supplemental. You didn't get a supplement, you didn't get an advantage. Each
Mhm.
year, you can always enroll in an advantage plan during the annual enrollment period, which is October 15th through December 7th. And then your new plan starts January 1 of next year. So Advantage kind of always has this sort of guaranteed issue,
Yeah.
system at the end of the year.
Right. So even if a person would like later in life decide that, maybe they were looking for different ways to save money and they decided they're going to try to go to an advantage, you can do that. You're going to be accepted during this annual enrollment period. So let's talk a little bit also about extra benefits. All right. Because that's when you turn on and see all the quarterbacks out there telling you about all the different former quarterbacks, all the things you get. So, and with the supplement, really, there's one that you get. You can get the gym membership, right? That's pretty
Mhm.
much now they figured that was a favorite. Nobody, half the people don't use it anyway. So it wasn't a big deal. So anyway, they offer that with the supplement. So you do get to have a choice of a gym membership, which is nice, because sometimes now you're retired, you have more time to exercise. So let's talk a little bit, but that's it. All right. There's no
Yeah.
dental, none of that stuff. So what all do you get with Advantage plans?
With Advantage, this is really the meat and the potatoes of,
Mhm,
why it's considered, or why they call it an Advantage plan
mhm,
over, the supplement, is a lot of them include dental coverage with it, vision, hearing benefits, those can be huge for people that need that coverage. Also includes the gym membership, which everybody loves. Uh,
mhm,
and then there's even some other little benefits in there, like the over the counter benefit. So typically on a plan, they'll give you an allowance of X amount of dollars to spend at a drugstore, essentially for
mhm,
over the counter stuff. So you could go to Walgreens, buy, Band-Aids and aspirin and all those different
mhm,
things,
mhm.
which is really nice, especially um, for people who are lower income who need some help with those things. So
Yep.
definitely tons of extra add-ons in there. We've even heard of some plans paying for golf memberships, and, just crazy things to try to kind of draw you onto their plan. Um, but that's kind of where that term advantage comes from.
Yeah. And they definitely advertise that. So, all right. So then we're going to, I think another way to sum this up a little bit too is to think about, I'm going to label this as the freedom, part of which plan you choose. When you choose a supplement plan along with original Medicare, again, we already spoke about the fact that of using any doctor, but Medicare itself does not get in the way of any of your medical, what's going to happen to you. Your health care is determined by what your doctor says and advises for you to do, because pretty much Medicare is going to cover that. There is no middleman, so to speak, to try to maybe help manage your health. And a lot of people like that. They just like to think of no one else is kind of dictating or having to put any sort of control over that. It's just strictly within yourself. And so that is one of the things that is different with Advantage. And how might that be with an Advantage plan?
Yeah, so on the Advantage plans, the billing system kind of works differently. So, because we've taken out the original Medicare sort of part, we've replaced that. You essentially have a third-party health insurance organization managing all of your benefits, and we just kind of call that a little bit more of managed care. They may question things a little bit more, or try to work with your doctor on a better way to do something, or what they feel is better, financially. And so, and like we said before, you've got to stick to that network that can sometimes make you go one place versus another. Uh, so you definitely have a managed care piece in there of, and not all Advantage plans are created equal.
Right.
Um, but at the end of the day, they do all still have to follow the Medicare CMS guidelines of what Medicare covers.
Right. You may have to do a few extra steps, get some
Yeah.
approvals, do a few things like that, get your doctor to write letters, something just to prove that what he wants is the best thing for you. All right. So just to kind of wrap it up here, just to let you know, and we'll have more conversations and other podcasts about this, is that what do most people in the country do? It's a split of about 50-50, right? So not any one right or wrong or better than the other. It definitely doesn't tip the scale. So what we're going to do in some other episodes is maybe bring in some different ideas from maybe people like a financial advisor or a physician or things like that, to what their opinion is. And obviously ultimately it results in what what you feel is best for your health insurance. But why don't you tell us now, with the supplement, we already said that you see that's pretty much a permanent insurance, right? And you just keep that as long as you want it.
Hmm.
But then how would you change if you were either on a supplement or on an Advantage plan? And if you chose one and you didn't like it, then what would you do?
Yeah. So if you start on, let's take supplement first, for example. If you start on a supplement and one of these days you say, I want to switch to Advantage. And a lot of times the reason people do that is, premiums are getting too expensive. Your financial status changes throughout your life, especially as you get older. Um, so you say, I want to try out an Advantage plan now. The time to switch for that is going to be during the annual enrollment period, like I mentioned before, which is October 15th through December 7th. You can switch to any Advantage plan available within your zip code. And otherwise, if you already have an Advantage plan, you can again switch then. So you can change to a different one if you
Mhm.
didn't like the one that you had, or another big reason people change is their prescriptions change. And
Mhm.
so they need to change their plan for that as
Right.
well. And then you also kind of have this last ditch effort of, if you miss that annual enrollment period, or you elect something and then you have buyer's remorse and think, oh, I want to go back to what I had before, or make a change again, then you have the open enrollment period, which is January through the end of March, where you can sort of switch one more time.
So for an Advantage plan. Yep.
Yeah.
So, well, we want to wrap it up today because we're trying to keep these short for your sake. And so next time, what we're going to be talking about is some maybe frequently asked questions about Medicare.
Thanks so much for joining us today. We are so glad to have you here. If you liked what you heard or learned something new, then feel free to give us a like and a follow. Also, don't be afraid to share us with a friend or write us a review, and you can follow us on all social media platforms. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram as at Double Blonde Brokers. You can also send us an email to doubleblondebrokers@gmail.com if you have any suggestions for future episodes or would like to use us as your brokers.